Hey friends, welcome back to the Reddit Rainbow. Yesterday, we were talking about a sister who was openly bragging on the internet that she's harassing and stalking her sister. I made mention of this story called My 36 Male Wife, 33 Female Was Sued. I'm feeling resentment towards her and I don't know how to move past it. People did ask me to read it, but I'm also reading it because it is really annoying to me how people think they can hide behind faceless profiles, fake profiles. The internet is real, whether you want to believe it or not, and actions do have consequences, okay? This story is quite wordy. It's really long. So grab your vibes and delights, get comfy, mind that trigger warning, and let's jump in. As the title states, my wife was recently sued. She lost and we had to pay. The money is a significant amount for us. We didn't have much in savings or our emergency fund to begin with, and both of these accounts are now empty. Also, I do apologize. Like I said, this is a really wordy story, so you're gonna see some changes in how big and small the slides are. Okay. My current problem is trying to move past the resentment and anger I'm feeling towards my wife. Until now, I've always felt like we were a partnership in our marriage, but since I'm the breadwinner, I can't help but feel like I'm spending my money on something that isn't my fault. I've had no problem paying the mortgage and taking care of various financial burdens that come with being married and a homeowner. However, I've been the only one to put money aside in our savings and other accounts to prepare for an emergency, like a total car, or someone loses their job, medical bills, or an act of glob. Not a stupid lawsuit where I know my wife is guilty. She has a part-time job and doesn't make much money, but pays for smaller things when she can, like groceries and some random bills. But she does take care of a lot of cooking, cleaning, and caring for her pets. What did my wife do? Note, I had no idea this was going on while it was happening. She used LinkedIn to find her former ex-best friend. I guess it's just ex-best friend at this point, but anyway. She ended up creating a realistic looking fake LinkedIn profile with a vague occupation of recruiter. My wife ended up sending this ex-best friend, Laura, a few messages pretending to be a recruiter in her line of work. Laura finally responded, thinking that this recruiter was real. My wife wanted her phone number, but Laura gave her personal email address instead. My wife created a second fake LinkedIn profile and started to send messages to people with similar titles as Laura at her company. These messages said derogatory things about Laura, a mixture of truthful things but embarrassing, and just fabricated bullshit to make Laura look bad. Her manager got one of these messages that claimed that Laura was a heavy user and what the fuck? Laura's manager talked to her about these messages and he felt like the messages were bizarre and seemed like someone was trying to troll or harass Laura. Well, Laura's team had her back and they helped her save these messages. Not only that, but Laura requested that she be, tested to prove further evidence that she was clean. My wife didn't know this at that point, but Laura was pregnant. Several of her coworkers, including her manager, testified on her behalf. Using the personal email address she got from the fake recruiter profile, y'all, I'm having a really hard time saying recruiter. She was able to find a few social media platforms Laura was on and was able to figure out her husband's name. She did more internet sleuthing and found Laura's husband on Facebook. Laura's husband didn't have much on his Facebook profile, but you could see his business email address on it. My wife sent him an email claiming that Laura was cheating on him. Laura's husband confronted Laura about this email, and Laura encouraged him to keep responding to this person and save the messages, as well as to start asking specific questions about this supposed affair. My wife thought she was being clever and ended up telling the husband that Laura was cheating on him during the work week. She even gave him specific dates. Why? What was going through her head, bro? Like, unless you were stalking both of them, like, how could you even, anyway, I don't know what I'm expecting from this person. People who do shit like this are not that smart. Or maybe the word I'm looking for is they just have horrible tunnel vision and don't think about anyway. What she didn't realize was Laura had something turned on in Google Maps where it kept years worth of historical GPS data. Some of the dates my wife gave him also happened to be days where they both worked from home together. She also ended up giving him dates during a time where they were on vacation together. See, that's what I'm saying. Laura had her husband keep responding as much as possible to my wife and to back up all correspondence. My wife was able to figure out when and where the baby shower was going to be. One of Laura's friends had created a public registry for her and had the invitation online. My wife decided to show up unannounced. The baby shower took place in a semi-public place. They had rented out an area connected to the public business. She did not make herself known immediately. Why would she make herself? Instead, she looked for patrons that were entering and exiting the rented room. She was able to get the attention of a few guests that had never met her and tried to gossip about Laura. My wife was telling people that Laura didn't actually know who the father was, among other things. This was at an event where her husband was at as well. The word got back around to Laura, and she spotted my wife and apparently immediately put together all the pieces of what happened. I'm leaving a fair amount of information out. My wife was able to find phone numbers, social media accounts, and emails for other people in Laura's circle and sent them messages about Laura on multiple occasions. All the messages were trying to paint Laura in an extremely derogatory light. All the events I've mentioned so far took place over a year or so, and my wife didn't think to mask her IP address, so it was pretty easy to find out that all of these made-up messages came from the same IP address. Ours. Many of Laura's friends and family testified on her behalf. Laura had everyone saved as much digital evidence as possible, and it was a lot. That's so much, too much energy to be putting on one person, bro. That person owns a neighborhood in this person's head. Laura and her husband hired a lawyer and decided to sue my wife. They had ample evidence against her. All the saved messages, close friends, and even her manager spoke on her behalf. She showed that she went to see a therapist once all the harassment started because she was depressed and anxious. She showed that she and her husband went to counseling after the accusations of her cheating. She even went above and beyond and had more user tests done to show she was clean and my wife's accusations were 100% false, and even had a paternity test done to show that my wife was again wrong and chose to lie. I honestly felt awful for Laura. There was lots of tears on her end. You could tell how much emotional stress she had gone through. She said that being pregnant during the majority of this was absolutely horrific and was worried the stress and anxiety would somehow hurt her baby. She was pained that her one and only baby shower was ruined by my wife, and that was something that could never be truly repaid or made up for. And that my wife's harassment continued even after Laura gave birth and was trying to manage a newborn child. My wife has never done anything this crazy before. That wording says a lot to me, but whatever, we're gonna move on. I knew she could be a little petty and jealous of others, especially people she used to be friends with in the past, but it was only talk, no action that you know of. Common, we have a lot of fun together, but she really fucked up this time. I don't know how to move forward. I know someone is going to suggest therapy, but I really want to start building up an emergency fund again. We're pretty screwed financially for a while. And that's the end of the post. There is an update, so don't go too far. And also, this reminds me of the story that we told on our podcast, so I'll read that too. All right, guys, can't wait to read your thoughts, and I'll be back with part 2. Update. My 36 male wife, 33 female, was sued. I'm feeling resentment towards her, and I don't know how to move past it. There's a lot to go through, so I'm not recapping. So if you're new here, start at the beginning. But if you're all caught up, let's keep going. By the time I was able to respond to my first post, it became locked. I read everyone's replies, and thank you to those who responded with good advice. I got a lot of DMs, and I wasn't able to respond to everyone, but I did read your messages. However, I did not appreciate the many comments that simply insulted my wife. I know she fucked up and I'm still very angry, but I want to believe she can heal and become a better person. How did she avoid jail? I only mentioned the civil case since I felt like it was the most appropriate to write about because I was originally angry about our financial situation. there was also a criminal case. Okay. I was like real confused. Our lawyer thought she was originally going to have to go to jail for 3 months. However, we were able to get her punishment to be community service instead. She has a lot of community service hours to fill within a year. She will also be getting visits from a parole officer. Laura and her husband did file restraining orders against her. I honestly can't blame them for that. It helped my wife that she had a clean record and has family that works in law enforcement. Y'all know the Boat Rocker story, right? Like, do I need to read the Boat Rocker story again? I'm starting to think this OP is fucking Delulu because what? It sounds like she has a clean record because she has family in law enforcement that's keeping it clean. And remember, he said at the end, she's never done anything that crazy before. No. At first I was feeling bad for you, but like now I don't think I feel that bad for you anymore. We talk a lot about Karens, right? A level 10 Karen usually has a Jerry, named Jerry because on Rick and Morty, Jerry is spineless and annoying. A level 10 Karen always has a Jerry that has a pocketbook. Anyway, sorry, I got sidetracked. I want her to finish those community service hours first before we talk about her working more hours to help pay me back. Why did she do this to Laura? The big question, right? That is a good question. I asked her this multiple times over the past several months to try and understand what this woman did to my wife. She would tell me that Laura deserved everything horrible that my wife did to her, that Laura was a shitty person, a narcissist, a liar, and just overall a scumbag. You know, the be projecting hard as fuck, you know? I've been pressing her for more info, and when she told me some specifics, it made me feel sick to my stomach. Not because of what Laura did, but because how far my wife decided to go due to some petty things that happened in their friendship. Their friendship ended about 8 or 9, they'd been friends since early high school, 8 or 9 years ago, and it was over a man that they both briefly dated. My wife dated Matt for a few months. She broke up with him because she thought that Matt had feelings for Laura. Laura said she didn't want to date Matt because he had dated my wife. My wife decided to test her Oh my God. She ruined her life over this. My wife decided to test her friend Laura's loyalty and told Laura she had her blessing to date Matt. Laura and Matt ended up dating for a few months. My wife stuck around while they were dating, and once they broke up, my wife told Laura that she had failed a loyalty test. They fought, and ultimately it was Laura who decided to end the friendship. Note, in case it's not clear, Laura's current husband is not Matt, so nobody... Oh my God. Secondly, I was able to get some information from her about what inspired her to do this since their friendship had ended so long ago. My wife said she happened to see by chance, not by by chance, not by stalking, saw Laura at a restaurant about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and it looked like Laura had lost a lot of weight and was fit. My wife and I are fairly overweight, and apparently Laura used to be overweight too. My wife admitted that she felt angry that Laura had lost a lot of weight while she'd never been able to. My wife was also insulting Laura and said that she doesn't make a pretty thin person and that her new muscular body was too masculine. And then she also insulted Laura's husband, looks, and physique as well. Projecting. I saw both Laura and her husband in person on multiple occasions. They both look like normal, attractive people who obviously work out. I could also tell my wife was irritated when she saw Laura at the court for the first time, and you could barely tell that Laura even had a baby. My wife admitted that she just wanted to do some snooping to try to find that Laura wasn't doing well in life. She found the opposite and was jealous of her success. She first found out both their job titles. They both work at tech companies with some sort of engineering title. Wow, so they making the big bucks. And found out their estimated salaries by using something called Glassdoor. And if that's accurate, both Laura and her husband make really good money, like I said. She also saw a photo on Facebook of Laura and her husband standing in front of appeared to be their very beautiful and large home. She said she was angry because she knew that Laura wasn't deserving of any of this. She proceeded to insult Laura about how she's not that smart, not pretty, not responsible. She claimed that all Laura did through college was do substances, drink, have relations, skip class, and failed a lot. And my wife said that she's the type who would cheat on her husband, that she's manipulative and is always up to something. The projection, clearly. Both Laura and her husband seemed very sad and exhausted throughout the whole ordeal. I never picked up on anything sinister from Laura at all. I felt absolutely awful for her. I felt extreme shame and embarrassment whenever I was in the same room with Laura and her husband. I don't think I was ever able to make direct eye contact with either of them. So yeah, I was expecting Laura to have done something truly evil or sinister in the past, and that just wasn't the case. I can't believe she ruined her life and that lady's for nothing, literally nothing. Does she feel remorseful? Ooh, I want to say yes. Okay, that says a lot right there. I want to say yes, she does. She has been really depressed since all of this was finalized. However, I can't help but think she's only sad because she got caught. You said it, sir, because yes. She hasn't directly said anything that would lead me to believe that she is truly remorseful. She's still angry at Laura for escalating to the point of criminal and civil, and she feels that Laura overreacted. My wife believes every horrible thing she said about Laura. She's convinced that Laura is some kind of addict who cheats on her husband and is the type to lie and cheat her way to the top of her career. And somehow Laura is able to hide this from everyone in her life. My wife felt like she was trying to expose Laura for the monster that she is, and she feels that Laura pressing charges and suing her is additional proof that Laura is vindictive. Oh my gosh. My hope is that she has time to think while she's doing her community service hours over the next year. I think she feels bad that I had to empty out our accounts and sell some things to come up with the money. I talked to her about working more hours when she is finished and my community service, and she agreed. Are you going to get divorced? The thought has crossed my mind, but we've been together for so long and I still love her despite this disgusting thing she has done. You know what, baby? If you like it, I love it. Just like those people on the internet who defend their horrible boyfriends for not getting them flowers or whatever they wanted on Valentine's. I can't see my life without her, but I know, and I'm having a hard time admitting this to myself, that if she doesn't improve or learn a lesson from this mess, then I can't be with her anymore. A lot of people mention that if she can do this type of thing to an ex-friend, then she can do the same thing to an ex-husband. This has me worried some. I'd like to believe she wouldn't go nuclear on me if we did file for divorce. Yes, she would. I'll be taking precautions in case I do have to defend myself in the future. Why is she only working part-time? She's a licensed masseuse and works at a really nice salon/spa. Her hourly wage is pretty high, but she hasn't been able to get the hours she wants at the spa she works at. She could probably get a more full-time position at a different spa, but with a slightly lower hourly wage, which would still bring in more income than what she's doing now. She really likes the place she's at and doesn't want to leave, but I may pressure her to full-time work elsewhere to help me pay back and refill our emergency fund once she's done with community service. At the moment, she's on board with helping me put money back into our savings. I feel like she's going to fight and she's not actually going to get a better job. I kind of feel like she's not being truthful either about, the work situation. Like she's okay with you working more hours and being the breadwinner so she doesn't have to. What about therapy? I know we need this, both as a couple and as individuals, to deal with this mess. I talked to her about it and she doesn't seem totally sold on the idea of therapy. These type of people rarely do. I've expressed that I think it would help both of us, and she seems indifferent at this point. I've talked to her parents who are really angry and disappointed in her. They've basically begged me not to leave her over this, bro. I'm telling you, her family is used to covering up her bullshit. I told her parents that I think therapy would help both of us, but I can't afford it right now. They offered to pay for couples therapy, but that is as much as they would be able to afford. So it's a start. I know my wife will need individual therapy, and if that means I stop going to couples therapy so she can get the one-on-one help she needs, so be it. But a narcissist, which your wife is, will never believe that they are the problem. I highly doubt one will actually go to therapy. Well, not normally, anyway, you know what I mean. I'm not ready to call my wife a psychopath, as many of the commenters did the last post. I think she got carried away and thought she was trying to expose someone she truly believed was a bad person. Delulu. Also, he's probably like really, really close to it. You know what I'm saying? So he can't see the amount of stretching and brain gymnastics he's doing, you know? So I feel bad for him. I'm heavily leaning towards that she has had some sort of mental breakdown and focused all of her energy on this one woman and her life. Or maybe she thought that everything was fine in her life, but then saw someone who's doing better and wondered, why am I not doing better? You know what I mean? Could be like a midlife crisis kind of situation. Based on everything else we've been reading, she thinks that she's Superman and Laura is Lex Luthor. But the truth is actually that Laura is like hot girl or something, and the OP's wife is like condiment man. Like, sorry. Anyway, it's very possible that she has some underlying mental illness that could very well be treated with therapy or meds. Good luck to this person. How much money was she sued for? I don't want to give specific numbers, but it will take about 4 or 5 years to get back to where we were prior to this happening. If my wife takes on a full-time job after she is done with the community service and hands over the majority of her paycheck, it may take less than 4 years. Are kids involved? No, we don't have kids and are not planning on having any. What next? That's what I need help with. I've sat down with my wife a few times since the post, and I can feel some resistance coming from her about starting couple therapy. I think she's irritated at her parents for offering to pay for therapy for us. She has stated that she would rather us solve our problems together without interference from someone else she doesn't know. Of course. She's afraid she isn't going to like any therapist we find, and that the therapist will attack her throughout our sessions. Yeah, because you are the problem, but they would also help you find out how to do better for yourself and those around you. Like, I've tried explaining to her that the therapist isn't there to blame anyone, that they would try to help us, and it would be a safe space for her to talk and vent about whatever she needs. I've brought up the idea of therapy every night since the post, and each time she's had an excuse along the lines of, it won't help, the therapist will gang up on her, and she isn't going to like them, or they won't like her, or that we can solve our own problems. Well, gosh. And that's the end of the post. Man, just because you think you're behind a faceless profile, it does not mean that what you're doing isn't inherently wrong, and there are consequences to what the fuck you're doing. That's why I read that story. And I want to read this person's comment. It was one of the top comments because I think it accurately describes what happened here. When I worked in family law, I once had this client who called us because her soon-to-be ex-husband was abusing their daughters. She said she was having trouble getting any kind of assistance because she lived in a small town where all the lawyers and judges and cops all knew each other, and her ex was friendly with them. We came in ready and rearing, filing motions and demanding supervised visitations and trying to get all the info we could on why there were no pending criminal cases. Then the story started to unravel bit by bit. Things weren't adding up. The other attorneys who told me my client was a liar had proof of lies she told. And eventually what we figured out was that my client was so completely convinced that her daughters were being abused by their dad that she abused them herself just to frame him for it. Original OP's wife is like my ex-client, so focused on who she thinks the monster is that she becomes the monster herself. If I'm being honest with you though, she's been a monster the whole time. The whole reason this all started was something that was insignificant and petty. She put her friend through a loyalty test over some dude that she thought had feelings for her friend. She made all of that happen just to break up with her friend. Like, you can't tell me that's not what she was doing. And then she did it again as an adult. She did all of this that caused Laura to sue and now completely and utterly believes that Laura is the monster that she claimed to be. I guess I'm not disagreeing with that person. I'm just like, she's saying that this was a new thing. It wasn't new. She's been like this the whole time. Self-fulfilling prophecy, I think. She poked a bear long enough to make something happen, like, and has a pattern of doing so. And judging with her law enforcement family and the fact that the OP was literally like, I've never seen her go this far before. I don't know. That's a crazy ass story. Actions have consequences and the internet is forever. Don't do this to people. It will ruin your life. Just because you think that the internet is fake and it's all fun and games, and it can be, but there are very real aspects of the internet. You know what I'm saying? It's real. It's real. We are real people, and those are real people doing fucked up shit behind faceless profiles. Anyway, I'm gonna read one more story to you guys. Another level 10 Karen story. Be right back.